Chapter 6. Stepping inside the open double doors of the church, I had the bad luck of running immediately into Ashley Bing and Emma Flint, both combed and brushed and dressed up pretty for the party. I had hoped I would never have to see either of those girls ever again after leaving Hebron Middle School for the last time. But that day, what I wanted and what I got were two very different things. Ashley looked from me to Fish to Will Jr., resting her eyes on Will an extra long time. Maybe it was because I was 13 now, or because Fish and Will were there next to me, but I felt braver than I'd been at school, and I stood up tall in front of that snotty girl and her rubber-stamped sidekick. "Why are you even here?" I said. I didn't like the way Ashley kept staring at Will, or the way her staring at him bothered me. "My mother made me come, Missy Pissy," she said without taking her eyes off Will. "Yeah, Missy Pissy," echoed Emma. Red-faced and mortified, I just stood there. I couldn't believe those girls had just called me that horrible name in front of Will Jr. I felt like crawling under the stained brown carpet and staying there. Fish scowled at the two girls, and a burst of wind hit us all so sharp and sudden that it sent them scurrying from the open doorway to check their hair and to fix up all of their frou-frou frippery. Not looking at me, Fish frowned deeper still, and I knew he hadn't meant to let loose like that in front of everyone. "Friends of yours?" asked Will with a sympathetic smile, paying little attention to Fish or the wind. "Hardly," I muttered, still feeling humiliated. He nodded. "I have a feeling you're better off without friends like that." After that, Will Jr. kindly said nothing more about Ashley and Emma. He led us past the doors of the sanctuary and past the open door to his daddy's office, where his smile faded as we paused for a moment, peeking in. I glimpsed Pastor Meeks, all tall and buttoned up, talking to some man and thumping a big pink Bible in his hands. The preacher didn't look too happy. His yellow tie hung crooked, and he was spitting as he spoke. Running a finger down inside his own starch collar, as though that top button might be making things a bit too tight, Will Jr. moved us quickly past the door toward the party room. Red and orange crepe paper streamers hung sagging around the fellowship hall as though left over from another party. Aside from a large chocolate cake with no sugar roses and not a single candle, dripping or otherwise, and a small stack of hastily purchased gifts, the room was empty. Most everyone was congregating outside, probably still unsure who exactly they were there to celebrate. Will removed a present from the stack on the table as we passed. "Happy birthday, Mibs," he repeated, handing me a small package wrapped in colorful paper. "It's a pen set." He nodded at the gift. "In case you were wondering." "Thanks," I said, unsure if I was supposed to open it now that I knew what was inside. But Will didn't give me the chance. Instead, he ushered us across the open room toward the kitchen, where Bobby and two other church girls her age had been put to work making punch and peanut butter sandwiches sliced into quarters with the crust cut off. The girls were all wearing stylish jeans and shirts that showed their skin and their belly buttons. They had pink cheeks and lip gloss and attitude to go around, and it all seemed to be spilling into the punch. Bobby looked at the big purple flower on the shoulder of my dress and rolled her eyes. "Happy birthday," she said in a tone that sounded more like "drop dead." Then the other girls began to whisper and laugh as they mixed ginger ale and rainbow sherbet together into a pale yellow pineapple juice that was the same color as my dress. The church girls looked past me and Fish and Will, searching the doorway as though hoping someone else might appear. "No Rocket?" the first wondered with a sigh. Even when he wasn't there, Rocket's dark good looks and mysterious reputation won him admirers. The second girl squealed with giggles at the mention of my brother, and the first pretended to swoon. Bobby stirred the punch with the merest hint of a smile, quickly masking it again after a teasing nudge from the other girls. Suddenly, as I looked at those teenage girls in their teenage clothes, I felt younger than 12 turning 13, and my special occasion dress felt not so special. I realized that I had just turned into a teenager myself, and there were changes in my life that didn't have anything to do with my savvy. Standing in that kitchen, fiddling uncomfortably with the ribbon flower on my dress, I had heard a strange and sudden sound, a sound I couldn't quite make out. But it was a sound that required my attention. Momentarily forgetting my dress and ignoring the other girls, I tilted my head, feeling ever so much like a dog listening for that whistle its owner can't hear, or like Grandma Dollop listening for just the right radio wave for her collection. A muffled sing-song voice whispered behind my ears with a sound like water, still stuck there after a long swim. I shook my head and twisted my fingers in my ears. For a moment, the sound stopped. I knew that Fish was looking at me again, watching me. He was waiting for the dynamite to blow. But that wasn't going to happen because I knew the way that things were going to be. I knew I was going down to Salina. I knew I was going to wake up Papa the same way I'd woken up Gypsy, and the same way I'd woken up Samson's turtle. Then I heard the voice again. This time it sounded like it was right behind my eyeballs, like a headache, if a headache could be a sound. With my balance gone tipsy-topsy, I dropped my wrapped-up happy birthday pen set and bumped right into Will Jr., knocking him hard into the tray of sandwiches. The tray fell to the floor with a crash, sending triangles of bread and peanut butter flying. Bobby cussed like a trucker with 3 flat tires and bent to pick up the tray. That was when I saw the picture on her skin. That was when I saw the colorful ink of Bobby's tattoo. The preacher's daughter had a small design on her lower back that only showed itself when she bent over in those fancy jeans. The tattoo was a picture of a little angel with a golden halo and outstretched wings, only this angel had a devilish grin and a pointed red tail to match. I couldn't fathom how Bobby had managed to get a tattoo. I knew that if Miss Rosemary, the woman with the direct connections to heaven and the ability to get God Almighty to help her plan my birthday, if she ever found out, Bobby might not make it to her own next birthday party, nor up to heaven to get her very own halo either. That was when that little angel turned its head, twirled its tail, and said, "She's really very lonely, you know." And that was when I fainted.